rival. He has said to friends that he plans on taking a win in North Korea to the voters. That's their midterm message. That's all they've got.
That's right. I mean, that's what's actually so terrifying in part, because I think we're going into this, and if we're thinking about this realistically, we know enough about President Trump to know that he's not going to come home and say that he failed.
He's trying to denuclearize North Korea. How much more terrifying can you get? They're petrified on MSNBC. They're doing their shows tonight from under their desks. You'll just be seeing an empty desk where Comrade Chris and Rachel Maddow usually sit, and then Chris Cuomo. Joining us now on the line is Joe Concha from thehill.com. And Joe, you did a great job tweeting out last night all of the hysterical reactions from the alt-left social media. Are we now at a pinnacle of Trump derangement syndrome after last night?
Well, if you have Trump derangement syndrome for more than 4 hours, Howie, call your psychiatrist. That's all I have to say. Hey, look, man, I think in that quote you just played, was that Nicole Wallace, that shot?
Was that? Yeah, that was Nicole. Yes.
Okay, so I think the first part of that quote was more troubling in that she says the Republicans will run on denuclearization of North Korea. That's all they got. What do you mean that's all they got? The economy always is first and foremost in every election as far as what's on top of voters' minds. Jobs, wages, all those things. And if you look at it, I mean, just when you have 3.8% unemployment and when you have a GDP that's doing well, that when you have wages that are up, an economy that's basically roaring. I think the New York Times itself said we're running out of good things to say about these jobs reports. That's what the Republicans will run on. Yeah, North Korea, that's a nice thing, too, if that continues to progress in the way it's already started over the last couple of days. But here's my question. What do Democrats have as a message that they want to bring to the voters? What are they running on? Opposing tax cuts? Being against these talks with North Korea when 25 years it's failed under whether it be Republican or Democratic administration. So I think that is really your story, that Democrats don't have a concrete message outside of Trump is a bad guy, and Republicans actually have tangible things to run on in the midterms where maybe it won't be a blue wave, but maybe just a ripple.
Their message is your wage increases are crumbs. You may have jobs, but there is wage stagnation. That's what Nancy Pelosi is now saying, even though wages went up 2.7% in May, which was like a historical record. And like you said, it's on the front page of the Wall Street Journal today. There is now full employment for the first time since 1 month in the year 2000 and a few years in the late 1960s. And they're saying, and Nicole Wallace is saying the Republicans don't have anything to run on. ISIS has been demolished. It's
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's just what is the message that Robert De Niro was trying to deliver the other night? What is the message Samantha Bee was trying to deliver last week?
Well, Howie, I think it's when you go personal and you just go out and people with what Robert De Niro said, F Trump, or Samantha Bee with the feckless C comment. If that's the message, that doesn't win you elections. I mean, you know Mitt Romney well. You were around for the 2012 election, probably followed that very closely,
yes,
given, the Massachusetts governor running. And he didn't really have a message, right? I mean, if I look back on that campaign, it was, Obama, he's incompetent, he's a community organizer. He's nice about it, obviously. But I'm still trying to remember what Romney ran on, and I really don't know. And you can't run without a message. And if we're going to get personal, I think that only helps Trump when people continue to act this way, whether it be De Niro, B, Democrats, or many in the media, like Nicole Wallace, who people forget, was the campaign spokesperson, was communications director under Bush, and then was with the McCain campaign. I mean, this was a wool in the die in the wool Republican, and now she's on MSNBC, and I think, honestly, Howie, she just wants to give her audience comfort food because that gets her next contract. I don't think she believes half these things that she says when she says something as stupid as the Republicans only have North Korea to run on when she knows the economy is going to be front and center. So, what can you say, man? I guess we are at a pinnacle of Trump derangement.
I tell you, Joe, you're on TV enough, and so am I, and on the radio. It is really a depressing spectacle to think about having to go on TV and lie about what you really feel. It's just. Yeah. It really it must take a lot out of you. Another thing that just occurred to me as you were talking, there's an old saying in politics, you can't beat somebody with nobody. And if your only platform is running around throwing the F-bomb or the C-bomb out, you are a non-person, when it comes to appealing to a large segment of the electorate, I think.
Yeah, and Amy Parnas for The Hill, she wrote a good piece today talking about how the Democrats at this stage, before the last election, Hillary Clinton was going to be their candidate, and they knew who was going to be and how they were going to win. And now, tell me who the Democratic leader is right now. I mean, who's it? Kamala Harris? Is it Bernie Sanders? What do you got? I don't really see anybody right now. But to another point, by the way, when we watch this North Korea coverage, and we hear from all these experts that mostly all of them universally are decrying it, are criticizing it. Think about who these experts are. They are members of the former members of the Obama administration or of the Bush administration. What do they both have in common? They both failed horribly with North Korea as far as stopping their nuclear programs, whatever approach they took. So, yeah, when you hear from a Ben Rhodes, you're like, okay, Ben, let's look at your resume. Let's see, author of the Iran deal. Also was Obama's deputy advisor as far as foreign policy advisor as far as North Korea, where nothing was done.
Right.
And yet these people have the audacity to go on television and start criticizing this stuff when they don't have a record to back it up. I mean, when I watch baseball and I hear from a former player like a Tim McCarver, I'm going to respect him because, he accomplished a lot in the game. I could pick 1,000 color commentators, the first one that came to mind, because you could say, yeah, that guy won. Right. But in these cases, we're hearing from people that did nothing but lose in their jobs, and now they're considered experts, and they're the media. That's a big problem, right?
Rush played a greatest hits compilation of cuts today from after the signing of the Iranian nuclear deal. All the people, as you say, who are ripping Donald Trump and saying what a disaster this summit was. These are all the people who are saying that this is like they sound like Neville Chamberlain coming back from Munich in 1938. I mean, this is peace in our time. And I have here a signed statement from Herr Hitler. I mean, their credibility is shot when you listen to the way they swooned and fawned over Obama and John Kerry and Ben Rhodes. Ben Rhodes, who's now written this book where he quotes Obama as saying, well, we really teed up the economy for him. They teed. That's one way to put it, I guess, Joe, right? Teed up the economy.
Wow. Everybody forgets that Ben Rhodes was a fiction writer at one point, and didn't really have a lot of credentials when he went into the White House. You always hear how Trump is hiring all these people that aren't qualified, like, Larry Kudlow. Hey, he's just a guy from CNBC. Let's forget all the other things he did before television, right, like working in the Reagan administration or what he did, Bear Stearns and so on. Like, that's just one example. But look, 1,000 ways you could go with Ben Rhodes, right? But he's a typical hire. You hire from the establishment, and the establishment is always going to criticize the non-establishment guy, and that's Donald Trump. So
it's also what I've always seen in politics is a politician tends to hire his driver because he trusts his driver. Sometimes it's a cop. In the case of Obama in Iowa in 2007, 2008, the caucuses, he picked up a guy from the University of Iowa Writers Workshop by the name of Ben Rhodes, whose brother happened to be a big shot at Fox News at the time, who later went on to run CBS, and that's how he got his job. He was the bus driver, and now he's a national affairs expert. I mean,
and didn't Samantha Power write for the Boston Globe at one point, and then she's in Nikki Haley's position, right? She's U.S. ambassador to the UN. So you hear about all these journalists being hired or Fox people being hired by Trump. Trust me, Obama wrote the book. He hired 30 journalists to go work for him. And, boy, they were very eager to do that, which tells you they're probably aligned with them in terms of their ideology in the first place. So, look, I mean, this North Korea situation, I think most Americans sitting at home, I've used this stat maybe with you before. I'll throw it out there again. The Hill looked at 59 endorsements before the 2016 election, 2 days before the election. And of the 59, 57 went to Hillary Clinton. And that got her a concession speech. And what that told me was the influence of the media is a fraction of what it used to be, because even when they're being told how to vote, how to think, what's right, what's wrong, people are able, fortunately, to make up their minds on their own. I think they'll look at this North Korea situation and say, whatever we did for 25 years was bad. It led us to nearly the brink of war, and now we seem to be pulling back from it. And that's a good thing. And I think ultimately the polling on this will show that, besides the hard partisans that will be against Trump no matter what, every Republican and most independents, I think, will say this was a good thing that happened this last week in Singapore.
By the way, those two newspapers, one of them, I believe, was the Jacksonville Times-Union. What was the other one? Trivia question.
It was in Las Vegas, the one that was owned by
Sheldon Adelson.
Yeah, Adelson.
The Review Citizen, or the Review, something like that. The Review Journal. So there was two out of 59. That's amazing.
2 out of 59.
By the way, AT&T just won the federal decision. They've been approved to buy Time Warner. So much for
that. I think most people did.
But again, so these are the same people who are ripping him on North Korea. These are the same people. Donald Trump is a gangster. He's going to put the fix in to punish CNN, and they're not going to be able to. Time Warner is going to have to sell CNN. Well, guess what, Joe? It didn't happen, did it?
I loved your narrator imitation there. That was good. Just like one of those cheesy guys that usually do these things out of New York.
You think I could be on MSNBC at night? Or CNN?
That's funny. Hey, look, but in all seriousness, if the Comcast NBC Universal merger was approved, then this had to be approved. I mean, that set the precedent. So I don't think it's a good precedent, but once you have precedent, then it's hard to say AT&T Time Warner is any different than Comcast NBC Universal. And I think ultimately that was the argument, and it was a poor argument by the Justice Department.
Right, and because Donald Trump is the president and not Barack Obama, Al Sharpton will not be getting a show on CNN as a result of this, as he did for the Comcast Universal agreement, right?
I think that may be right, but hey, CNN they're down 25% total viewers, 35% in the what's called the friendly or the advertiser coveted demo, which is 25 to 54-year-olds. Imagine that, just 1/4 of your audience down from May of 2017 to May of 2018. I think it's just fatigue. I think you could only be anti and negative for so long where people just find you predictable. It's an echo chamber, and who wants to deal with it anymore? So I think their struggles will continue, and I think if the president continues to have successes, that's only bad for CNN and MSNBC because they live on bad news for the president.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, when it looked like the Russian collusion probe was at its height, the before the hoax was exposed. I mean, Rachel Maddow was occasionally winning at night, and those days are long behind us now. It's and Chris.
She's not competing as much as she used to, right? She hasn't won a night in I don't know how long.
Yeah,
it's basically been Hannity, Tucker, Ingram. Rachel somewhere around in the top 3 or 4, but then otherwise, CNN doesn't have one show in the top 25.
The IGs
in cable news. I'm not just talking cable news. They don't have one in the top 25. That is remarkable, given the resources and the name recognition of some of the people on that network.
The Inspector General's report comes out on Thursday. My money's on Sean Hannity to win the night. How about you?
Again, if it's good for Trump, it's good for Hannity. If it's bad for Trump, it's better for the other guys. And I'm not saying that dictates everything completely, but it helps move the tide enough where you get a win where you might not have a win in certain situations. That's amazing that we're that polarized now, that's how your wins and losses come in cable news these days.
Yeah. Joe Concha from The Hill, thank you for being with us. We appreciate it. And again, good job last night with the tweets. You're doing a good job.
I'll be on Tucker tonight as well. 8:10.
Okay.
Tucker, 8:10 Eastern.
Tucker, 8:10. Tucker Carlson. Thanks, Joe. I'm Howie Carr.